Hello, hello, good afternoon. Thank you so much for Legacy Continues podcast. And happy Father's Day. I know we have some fathers listening, and just want to honor all the fathers that may be listening, and spiritual fathers who may be listening. And I want to do a special shout out to my dad. Happy Father's Day to you. I appreciate you and I love you. Thank you for just your support, and a special shout out to my stepdad Jeff. Happy Father's Day to you. And again, just I love our dads. I love our dads that show up, and I know I've had I know my dad has, and so just. And I'm excited about today's guest, because today's guest, I know one serves. I've asked her to be on here on my show today for many reasons, because she's super special to me and into this ministry. But the reason I asked her to join is because her dad, and her and I know we can do this, right? Okay. Her dad was super special to me, and it's super impactful in her life. And he's now with the Lord, and so I asked her to come and share her story. And as we talk about the legacy continues, I know that one thing that motivates her is the legacy that her dad left, and I know the legacy that my mom left is also important to her.
Absolutely.
So we've so for dual reasons, I've asked her. So let's thank you so much, Lindsay, for coming. And
Thank you for asking me.
absolutely, absolutely. As soon as I've got Father's Day coming, and I want because I want to honor your dad, and I know that it's important to you to honor your dad,
sure.
and
For sure.
and then also just give God glory for where you're at in life, and for what He's done, and for what God's done in your life. So, I don't want. I know I could tell the story. I could tell all the relation and all the connection. But why don't you? Because I know our relationship started before Lovelady.
Right.
Yeah. So, how about you? We can start with your Lovelady journey, if you'd like, or what's brought you here today? Let's say that.
Well, that's a loaded question for sure. So I would have to say, obviously, family, friends before I came to Lovelady. But what got me to Lovelady would actually be a series of really bad choices that I made. I grew up in a great home with great family. I went to church with you guys and just made some really bad decisions and got addicted to pain pills. And I mean, I could go into a lot of detailed stories.
I want to know, how detailed are we going to get?
But it would take longer than we have in this podcast for me to get real detailed. But to say that your family and my personal family, mom and dad, were not a huge part of my journey here, I would be missed to not mention that. So Melinda was actually very involved, and Brenda, with my journey of getting to the Lovelady Center. I was with them the night I had an issue at the circus holding my child.
I wondered if you were going to get into the
And
circus
I probably
story.
wouldn't have gotten into the circus story, but I feel like that would probably benefit a lot of people to know that y'all may not know what you do at the beginning of the circus, but you can go down in the first part, visit with the animals, see things down in the middle ring. Of course, I had to do that with my son and Melinda and many other ones. And I was standing down in the middle of the ring with him, and I ended up having a seizure holding him. Fell out on the floor. Ambulance had to come. Went to the hospital. And I'll never forget Melinda telling me, probably about a week after it happened, that my son looked at her and said, "Is my mommy dead? Is my mommy gone?" And to me, that's gut-wrenching. I mean, like, to know that. But that event is really what led me to the Lovelady Center, because that got the ball rolling for me to, well, I had to take care of some legal things. Those legal things, I had a choice of getting out or coming to the Lovelady Center, and I chose to come to the Lovelady Center because I knew at that point in my life I was ready for a change. I wanted to make a change.
I want to just interrupt for our listeners to say, since Lindsay brought the circus story into it, the not funny but ironic, just how God was moving. My twin brother had asked mom to come to the circus, and then when mom when Mom got to the circus, there were a lot of other people there other than my twin.
There was actually 18 of us.
Yeah, and Mom was like, she thought she was going to have a good night with her, with her son, and so all these people were there. So she was kind of pouty and sulky, and I'm not going to the circus. Everybody else is going to be at the circus, and
Yes.
and I'm not talking about Mom. I am talking about Mom, but she would share this story too because it gives God glory, and so she's kind of pouty and kind of sulking, and even there at the circus, she was kind of pouty and sulky, and then when Lindsay starts having a seizure, well, Mom's always going to, in a crisis, she's going to rise to the occasion. Yep. So Mom had like just major influence and impact of how things were
she did.
So, happening and all that. And then as we move forward and as you come into the program at the Lovelady Center, Mom, I'm telling you, she repented to, she was like, Melinda, I feel so stupid. It's like God, it was all ordained by God to move into Lindsay's life. And even though it didn't happen like I wanted it to happen, it was exactly how God wanted it to happen.
And she read me that night like a book too. Like, do you remember that?
No,
I tried to really get out of it. Like, yes, I tried to get out of it. And I think you even said, Mom, I don't think that's true. I don't think that's right. And she was like, it is. And she was right. Everything she said, she was right. And that's why I know her being there was huge, because it definitely
it was God.
Got the ball rolling for sure.
It was God.
Yes, for sure. So even though it was embarrassing, very embarrassing, humiliating, it led me to the Lovelady Center. And
what year was that?
It was in 2000. Oh my Lord!
I'd say 7. If I was.
It was 2006.
6. Okay.
Yep. 06 was when I came. 06, because there was 17 people here at the Lovelady Center when I got here.
Okay.
And I was one of 2 that had a license. And so my very first Sunday at the Lovelady Center, I drove the van.
Okay.
To the church.
Okay.
I drove a loaded van, and y'all can't see me fully, but I'm 5'1", so I don't see over the steering wheel really well. But it was neat. I was scared to death. Let me back up and say, the night that I came here, the first night here, we probably it's a whole story about how I got picked up too. But when I got here, I was scared. I was very scared.
Oh, you can tell because Shay picked her up from jail.
Shay picked me up. I got out of jail, and when you get out of jail, they don't give you something to call with. You just literally get let go. I had nothing. I had my ID in my pocket. I borrowed somebody's phone, called Melinda's brother, actually Rebecca, his wife, and said, I need somebody to come pick me up. I didn't even know a number to call. And she called Brenda. Brenda called Shay and asked Shay to come pick me up and to buy me something to eat on the way. Well, when she got me, she brought somebody with her that I recognized. So I immediately went to that person because I recognized her. Well, Shay thought I was a stuck-up white girl, basically. She actually told me that in the end. And then she had to buy me something to eat in addition to that. So she was really aggravated at me. But Shay ended up being my very best friend after that. So when I got here, I was scared to death. I'll never forget, I was scared to death. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to act. I didn't grow up to end up like I had ended up. And Melinda walked through the door. I'll never forget it. And I was at the very end of the second floor. You were at this end by the front desk. And you said, I'm here. I just came to check on you. And it just made my whole life better at the moment, because I thought, I don't have sheets. I don't have anything. And it just gave me peace to know that I did have family here. Even though my immediate family wasn't here, I had family here. And so that started my journey here.
Yeah. And so you immediately, being a believer, you were already a believer. You were hungry to get it right.
Definitely hungry to get it right. I didn't necessarily have, I did not like authority very much. This one beside me taught me a lot about authority over the years, but I had a lot of work to do on me, and I had a lot of work to do to actually surrender. That was my biggest thing. I'm still a control freak in areas, but surrendering was the biggest thing for me. And there was a class going on that one of the nights that I was here, and I said I didn't need that class because I had it. I knew all about it, and it was dumb to make me go to that class. Is basically what.
You remember the name of it?
It was Father William.
Okay.
And oh gosh, it was some kind of breaking free class. I don't remember, but you had to write on an index card what you wanted forgiveness for and what you needed to forgive people for. That class changed my life. That is what turned my whole focus in on where I was, like where my mind was and what I needed to let go of. And it just made my journey here I mean, made me just be able to receive things so much better. Not that my journey was smooth by any means, but it definitely opened the doors for me to walk easier here for sure. And the tools that I was given here,
Yeah.
which made me to where I had a career. I was a dental assistant. And after completing the program, I was offered the opportunity to stay and work. And I knew that this is where I needed to be. I mean, like, this would be where I needed to. It had poured into me so much, I needed to pour back into it as well.
And you absolutely did. I would say that, and watching this isn't one of the questions I have to ask her, but I know has it not been amazing to watch what God has done?
Absolutely.
And
From if I think back to start to where it is now, I mean, there was a time that Melinda was buying everybody's prescriptions. I'll never forget that we were driving people all over the place. I mean, it was just, it's amazing to see going from 17, which I know you've seen from 5 and 6, but from 17 to where it is right now, to a school, a daycare. It's just huge. I mean, it's the city under one roof, and it's absolutely amazing that it can be done right here like that.
and you were with us from 2006 as a client, but
But on
or
until
was it
2013.
20?
Yeah, 2013, I moved away for 2 years, and then I
Uh,
came back, and then 2020.
yeah,
I was here till 2020.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but
For here and there for
yes,
2020,
but
yes.
walked through the center, Caraway,
Uh-huh.
everything that we did. It was, I mean, it's neat to see it grow. It's
Yeah.
definitely an area of my life that I talk about so often.
Well, you
I
had
share all the time
you
about
had
it.
a major influence on a lot of things that we do now.
Oh,
I hope that you,
thank you.
as God's moved in your life, and yeah, so
Which is instilled in me from my dad. So,
which brings me to this. So tell me about. So I know that you're a daddy's girl.
big daddy's girl.
Yeah, and I know that your dad volunteered here at the Lovelady
Yeah.
Center.
And was on the board.
He served on the board, and he I know I served with him at on church. We were servant leaders together at church, and tell me the influence that your dad had in your let's say your recovery journey, and
I would have to say that my dad's influence in my recovery journey, period, in my life, is that my daddy was obviously a fan of me, but he never gave up on me. That was the biggest thing for me. Is even when he should have given up on me, he didn't, and he showed me tough love when I needed it. There was a time that I knew I could call my dad and pretty much get out of it, basically. And I'll never forget the day that I called and he said, "Lynn, this is on you. You have to do this time." And I needed to hear that. I didn't like it, and I didn't want to hear it, but I needed to hear that. And his walk, his dedication to me was huge because his drive for me to succeed kept me going. I mean, like, obviously his prayers and my mom's prayers too, but my dad, and watching him here, like, I loved seeing him do classes here.
Mhm.
And then when he would stand in the gap, that class that him and mom would do, standing in the gap on Father's Day,
yeah.
was so neat to me, even though he's my daddy, but watching him be able to serve others too, and not just me in that capacity is huge for me because that is the legacy I love to hear about from my dad, was that anybody I hear that talks about my daddy is about what they poured into him or what he poured into them.
Yeah.
And it's really neat to hear.
Your dad had that because like I remember one time at church I had was going through some stuff, didn't even realize how hurt
Right.
I was, and then I remember going to me and my kids, we stepped forward and just to get prayer again, just simple prayer, and then
Yeah.
your dad laid his hands on me, and I just that fatherly spirit, and I remember I just
Absolutely.
broke down and
Yep.
just bawling like a baby. I thought, Lord help, and
He
then
definitely always knew
yeah.
what to say.
Yeah.
And how to diffuse a situation pretty good. I mean,
he
like,
was to me a peacemaker.
he definitely a peacemaker. That is one of his huge descriptions of his life as a peacemaker for sure.
Yeah.
Peacemaker in the family, peacemaker in his work life. He was just a peacemaker. He was. I might not have got all that of him.
No, let's see. He definitely I loved it. The girls here as they
Yes.
all I think they were able to
A lot of them called him dad.
yeah.
I mean, like, and I think it's neat that he felt like he could do that he felt enough peace here and enough connection here that he could be their dad and stand in the gap for them like that. Because I mean, he was a pretty amazing dad. So
Yeah. So how did, and we might have said this, but I want to, how, how do you carry his legacy now in your family, in your work, and in your faith?
one is by constantly speaking his name. It was a long time before I could actually do that. I'm still not to the point where I can look at pictures a whole lot. Like that would be hard for me, because it's easy when you go through grief to shut things out. I do that really well anyways. So, but it's important to me to continue talking about him, continue spreading, the things that he did, and for me to continue those things. Like, after he passed away, there was a while that it was hard to do much of anything. But I feel like he would want, this is what he would want.
Yeah.
Like this exact thing right here is what he would want. This is what he would be the most proud of, is that we were continuing that legacy. The pavilion, I mean, places like that was my dad's heart.
Mhm.
And for me, it's important to continue those things and continue it for him. But one thing that is so important to me is to never let his name go. I mean, like, his name is always spoken out of my mouth daily, at least. I mean, and that's important to me to
Yeah.
continue that. Work, it's easy for me to do that because I see lots of people. So
Yeah.
I can just talk about him. Some days are harder than others, and the things he taught me over the years, like experiences we had, the things he instilled in me were huge. And a lot of those things those tools I didn't know I had to use or could use until he was gone. And then it kind of brings it out in you where you have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
I mean, you got if it's important to you to keep that up, you got to keep those things going.
Yeah.
So,
So for me, just because mom had such a, mom,
huge legacy. Yeah.
yes, and Bo has accused me of having this place looking like a shrine. I don't, but it's very important that to me that people
Know her.
understand the faith that it
Absolutely.
took for this place to start, and
Absolutely.
for this place to how hard, that how all that she invested in it,
And what should for you?
Yeah.
I mean, like, y'all were side by side through this journey. I mean, like, and for people that show up 10 years from now that don't know her,
yeah,
they need to know her. I
Yeah.
mean, like, they'll know her when they walk in because she's
Yeah.
everywhere,
Yeah.
and her legacy will live on just like this. I
Yeah.
mean, like,
Yeah.
that's what I hope
Yeah.
people will know my dad's name 10 years from now for
Yeah.
something. I mean,
Yeah.
like, for
Yeah.
something.
So speaking of mom and the legacy that she's left, I know that you and her were super close. So tell me about something when you think of the legacy that personally, we know the Lovelady Center, but personally with you and her, what would you say that she taught you, that she left in
Okay.
you?
You know what? There's one thing I could say about her and my dad both. Neither one of them ever gave up on me. No matter what. I could call Brenda. She was there. I mean, like, even when she might chew me out the minute before, she loved me. I mean, I have so many stories that I could tell you about her pulling me out of the trenches. I mean, like,
Share one or two.
well, circus being the start. Okay, that was the first. Oh, some of them I'm not going to share. However, there's some. Uh, okay, I'll share one because I feel like it's okay to share. Of course, my journey the whole time hasn't been great. I've made some stupid decisions. And I made a really bad decision, years after being here, and it was not a decision that couldn't be fixed or changed, but it was a decision for me was embarrassing and humiliating, and didn't really want to show my face. However, Brenda was the reason that I did. I mean, I had a lot of other influences going on, but I'll never forget sitting in front of her and thinking I couldn't even look at her at first. I was like, I don't even want to make eye contact. And when I did, she looked me dead in my face and she said, "It's okay. It's okay. We love you." And that was one thing I always knew coming back was that she had open arms. Now, she might get me in those open arms. She also, I didn't say this, she allowed me to live with her. And no, that's not big a hop hill. A bunch of people have been in there. However, I will say, when it happened, she didn't have to do what she did. I was in the program, almost finished with the program, and my son wanted to stay with me, and he didn't feel comfortable at the center because at the time he felt like it was a hospital, and he just didn't feel comfortable. And so she allowed me, once I was finished, to live with her. And just though she was always so open to receiving me no matter what. So her and my dad both, I can say, they never, ever, ever gave up on me, no matter what.
Yeah, no. And I know Mom always believed in you. She always loved you.
Absolutely did.
And she did many, but I know with you, y'all had a very special
We
relationship.
did. I jumped in the car with her many times going to the beach. She would be in the car with her purse. She'd drive down the driveway. You want to go to the beach with me? With what? Just get in the car and be okay. Okay. Cameron thought it was great. We went to the beach 4 times that year, that summer.
So Joseph always talks about this is not normal.
Yeah.
People just don't go to the beach like this.
It's kind of the same way of changing furniture around with her.
Changing furniture.
I I would get up one morning and she would be changing the whole house around. Like, this is not normal.
Yeah, I asked Maddie, or Maddie was on a podcast with me. Maddie's my daughter for our listeners, and we asked one of the questions I asked my kids, and all 3 of them were on here with me, and I said, what's the one thing that you miss most about Mom? And Maddie said, knowing that I miss knowing what is she gonna do what was she gonna change when she walks in the door. I'm like, you miss that?
That's funny.
Yeah, I don't miss that.
That might not be one of the things I miss, but she was notorious for that. Yeah. But always kept you on your toes, for sure. She was definitely a Lindsay supporter, for sure.
Definitely, for sure. So I want to make sure, because I know that some people might be listening that might be struggling, not knowing I know some of the things that you taught me. We worked in the office together for a long time. And I know, like, one thing that I remember frequently, and I share it often, is that, like, when you started, because I can be enabling sometimes, and sometimes you're like, Melinda, I had to learn, like, I even had to learn how to put my pants on different, like, everything everything had to change. And so let's if for someone that's listening that might not have hope for the future, or might not feel like recovery is possible for them, what would you want to share with them?
Absolutely. Well, one, I hope I'm proof that you can change. I mean, like, it's not easy, and it's a day-to-day mindset that you have to have, but you can change. You can do it. And I would have to say that for my recovery, it was about changing everything in my life, not just about getting clean. Getting clean was the easy part. Changing my life was the hard part. That was the hard part. But like you said, I was in a program prior to coming to Lovelady, just an outpatient thing, which obviously didn't work real good. And one thing they told me is sometimes you have to change everything about yourself, even the way you drive to work. And that to me
Absolutely.
was very, very true. And the next thing was about putting your clothes on a different way. Little things like that you don't think about, you do. For me, it was changing the people I was around. And let me tell you another Brenda story real quick, Hannah. This is a big one, girls. If you're struggling and you're coming here, it's easy to change your phone number, but those numbers you have are still in that phone. So I thought I was being real fancy getting my phone back one day. I got my phone back. I was excited. And she was like, I don't think you need your phone back. I said, but I do. I mean, it'll be okay. I'll delete it all. She said, let me see it. And I thought, well, she's just going to get it and delete it anyway. She said, let me see it. I gave it to her. She put it down and she ran over it with her car. And she said, now you got to get another one. Drove off. Sure did.
That is so funny.
She got me another one. I will say that. However, I didn't have one phone number that I used to have, and it was probably another life-saving moment for me.
That's
because
awesome.
You gotta change it all, everything.
One time when I was at the hospital with Mom one time. And you could tell that the nurse, Mom just had surgery, and I could tell the nurse knew us, but I couldn't really tell. Like, okay, like, I'm like, I don't think she's a prior client, but you could kind of tell that she was.
Right.
There was something there. And then about the 4th time the nurse came there, she said, I've got to tell y'all that I do know who y'all are. And I was like, okay. She said, my daughter was in y'all's program. I was like, okay. I was like, do I need to ask for another nurse, is what I'm thinking. She said, I've got to tell you the one story. She said, I was there for church, and I was on my cell phone,
Oh, no.
and Miss Brenda, you came and took my phone away from me. So I was on the phone during church, and you thought because you thought I was a client, and so
Oh, my goodness.
you took the phone away from me, and then when you realized that I was, I wasn't a client, you gently gave it back to
That
me. But
is
I
so
will never
great.
forget you actually coming in the middle of church while you're preaching and taking my phone
I
away
can see
from
her
me.
walking right over there,
Yeah.
picking it up and
Yeah,
taking it. That's
yeah,
great.
but yeah, no,
That was
and for the record, your phone is not the only phone she had to
oh,
buy,
I know.
destroying the phone.
I've been around a
I
little
know you
bit.
have been. I was like, "Oh, Lord, she."
But it's actually not a bad thing. I mean, it
No,
might be an expensive
it's
thing, but it's not a bad thing
it's
at
not.
all.
Just for the record, any listeners who might be thinking about coming, we don't break phones anymore. We do master reset. We do possibly we do understand that y'all have choices. Mom wasn't big on choices, but we know that the Lord is. So
And that broken phone changed my life, so
so we've got a little more structure, a little more in those processes. But anyway, whatever it takes, right?
That's right.
Whatever
Hey,
it takes,
when you're willing to change, you do whatever.
right?
You will.
Amen. Amen. So what encouragement would you offer to someone today who is missing their dad? Maybe they never had one or is struggling with what fatherhood means.
I would encourage you to trust your father above more than anything. I mean, like, that's probably been the biggest thing I have a relationship with God. I've had a relationship with God my entire life. I have had to learn to fall in love with God. And I didn't know the true meaning of that until my dad was gone.
Amen.
And so falling in love with God is totally different than having a relationship with him. So it's a totally different level. And the things that I wanted to experience and hear and see when my dad was here spiritually, I didn't because I wasn't, I guess, where I needed to be. I don't know. But his passing has taught me to fall in love with my father above. And that's what I would encourage everybody to do. You can't make it in recovery. You can't make it in life without God.
Amen. Amen.
100%.
I know for me, since my mom, similar to you, was a big spiritual influence in my life, and I know my mom and your dad both
Yes.
were, and for you, and I know that my mom was also kind of could make my studying and me learning maybe lazy
Yeah.
because I could just call her
Right.
and I could just get all the hey mom, what does this mean? Hey
Right.
mom, what does
Yes.
that mean?
Absolutely.
And so I would I didn't realize that I did that, but now that I don't have her to call to ask those questions, I am having to dig in the word
Yep.
so much, but I love it. I
Right.
hate I don't I my God, it's so
Yes.
much easier to call her and I want to call her, but also to see his faithfulness and to see the
Yes.
mysteries as you start to figure out the word. And I know even last night, and I know we got to wrap this up, but last night I was studying and I came across a word that and I'm like, what does that word mean? Like it had nothing to do with it. I was actually thinking it was something else. And I go to look it up and it actually meant, what was it? It was like MIZP. It's a land
Uh-huh.
PAH, and it actually means. And again, this had nothing to do with the chapter that I was reading,
Yeah.
but because that word stuck out to me, it said, and it means to an emotional bond that you have with someone
Wow.
who is that you're separated from either through distance or death.
Wow.
And I was like, my
Wow.
God,
Wow.
just seeing how the Lord can speak like
Yeah.
that was important to the
That's
Lord.
huge. Yep.
And here I am in this land I don't even know exists, and
Right.
I'm in this land literally of struggling with this emotional
Yes.
bond of someone
That's
that I've
pretty cool
lost.
right there.
And so here
Yeah.
we are on Father's Day,
Yep.
and knowing that we're in that land, but God is with us.
That's right.
And as we dig in deeper, He's covering us.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Sissy.
I
I
love you so
appreciate it. I
much.
love you
Yes.
so
Love
much.
you. Love you. That's it for today. Thank y'all so much.